Welcome to Peace and Love, the Pulse of Humanity. P.U.L.C.E, Peace, Unity, Love, Collaboration, and Embrace. And today I'm so excited to have with me Bonnie Chan. Bonnie Chan is my favorite mompreneur. She, in today's day and age, I have to say she's the best example of a mom that I can think of. She's got two kids, Lucas and oh my God,
Jaden.
Of course, I was going to say Jason, but
it's all
and
good.
a wonderful husband, Aaron, who's in the middle of accounting season right now. However, one of the ways that they bring life and peace and love to their children is through bedtime stories. And Aaron wrote this series of books for children, with the main character being Oliver Octopus. And in each book reflects a lesson or distinction from Napoleon Hill. So they've taken Napoleon Hill's work and they've made it children friendly, and they use that for their children. I normally read a bio about the great person that's sitting in front of me, but I forgot to print out Bonnie's bio. She's an awesome. Oh, one thing about Bonnie, she's awesome at is connecting. She's a connector. If you ever want to know where to find something, she'll find you the right person for that. But today we're going to be talking about how to manage being an entrepreneur and a mama at this time of challenge with coronavirus. So welcome, Bonnie, to the
Hi, Mimi. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
It's a pleasure to have you. Why don't you share with us how you're using the Oliver Octopus distinctions to keep your children in a place of learning and empowerment at this time of challenge for humanity?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. For those of you who don't know who, I realize that many people actually don't know who Napoleon Hill is. Napoleon Hill is a gentleman back in the 30s, wrote a very popular book called Think and Grow Rich. So it's in the self-help, personal development, personal transformation space, where it's been a top seller for many years. Yes. So many people in the space of building a business or entrepreneurship knows of Napoleon Hill. So if you're an entrepreneur and you don't know, definitely, this might be your next Audible purchase. Think and Grow Rich. And yeah, right before we popped on, I was sharing with Mimi that I really used our distinctions that we're introducing to kids during this trying time, right? The first one we talk about, Oliver introduces the concept of going the extra mile. And during this challenging time, I'm seeing all sorts of generosity show up around our communities, in our country, with our neighbors. And that's stuff that we get to talk about with our kids. And actually, I actually wrote it down. I love this quote that I came across recently. I actually watched the movie Mr. Rogers recently. Really good movie. And came up with this quote that I really resonated with during this time. And this quote is by Mr. Rogers. When I was a boy and I would see the scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. I love that, because we can find people helping like everywhere, every day. And that brings us to our second book, which is talking about focus, Oliver and the Ocean Hunt. And we bring up the word focus. So for me, just as I would share with my coaching clients, it's like, what are you focusing on, right? So for me, I would focus on the helpers. I would focus on, what good things are happening in our community. There are neighbors. I'm part of a really strong mom group in the neighborhood, and I'm just seeing, people just pitching in to do their part in keeping the more vulnerable safe. which is so admirable, and I'm so proud to be part of that.
Mm,
And
yeah.
we get to talk about it with our kids, right? Because what are you focusing on with the kids, right? Also, like creativity, a lot of the things that we've been doing with the kids is using technology to connect with. I mean, most of my parents, most of my family members are not in the city anyway, and we have been doing way more video calls than ever. Yeah, just to check in, right? Just checking in with grandma and grandpa, see how they're doing, keeping them at home, reminding them to stay at home. So we're like making more calls, and then we're like playing around the phone because there's all these different features you can do now, right? The newest thing that I came across, and many of you might have too, is Google has this 3D animal thing where you can like type in tiger, and then you can do like a virtual reality tiger in your house.
Oh,
Like,
no,
yeah,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
really, really fun, really interesting. And again, learning about technology, or at least the use of it. I don't know how all that stuff works. But discovering it with your children, with my kids. And then the last thing is, that our last book is Oliver and the obstacle course, and that talks about teamwork. And I'm so grateful for communities, like all the different communities I'm part of. I already mentioned, the mom group. I'm also part of a very strong like coaching communities, which is great because we're all about empowerment. How can we contribute to each other? Let's focus on innovation and creativity and being resourceful, right? So instead of focusing on all the bad news, we could be asking ourselves questions like, okay, where have I been resourceful before, and where can I bring that resourcefulness to this situation? So that's been great. Lots of like trying different things with the kids. I get to try something new, they get to try something new, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay because we learn from it.
So,
My son actually tried playing a board game with a friend, and it worked, right? And that process probably can be improved, and
so
we get to figure it out.
he tried that board game online, right?
So basically, his friend has the same board game, like a physical board game.
Yeah.
That Yeah, so it's called Payday. So they basically laid it out, the physical board game with the phone, like looking at it. So whenever they roll the dice, they move two pieces. So it's like two
Right.
board games happening at once. Yeah. So, and they made it work. They play the entire game. And like I said, the process probably can be improved, but that's part of like learning about uh, problem solving, right?
Yeah, it is. What other kinds of things have you tried that worked that you can share with our audience?
Okay, yeah. One thing that's been working for me and for my kids is there has been a lot of resources that's been popping up that are for kids, including online kind of classes or workshops. And one of the ones, and I'm going to give them some shout out because I a couple of people that's been doing great work that we've participated in the Toronto area, and again, it's no longer the Toronto area, because
Right.
once you're online, like anyone can have access to it, right?
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
really cool, because before I couldn't really invite my friends from Vancouver to participate because
Mhm.
you have to go live, right? So I'm going to give a couple of shout outs. One is Blake and Dave. They are local to Toronto, but they created a series called Stuck at Home series, where they have 1 hour sessions where they talk about leadership and gratitude and creativity and problem solving with kids from 9 to 13 years old. And
Nice.
what's working, is one is my son actually really enjoys getting on it. And
Yeah.
the other thing that's working is actually inviting um, friends that are not, that didn't know Blake and Dave to also join. So they get to, get content from these amazing guys, but at the same time, they get to see their friends on the Zoom call. So I was
Right.
able to invite, you know, a friend from Ottawa, a friend from Vancouver, and a friend from school, right? So that's been working. So it's like a double thing is they get to, you know, participate and learn about stuff, and they get to see their friends and be learning together. It's kind of going to class together, but you get to choose the friends. So that's been amazing. Another shout out I'll say to my another local friend, Yolanda. She has a two things. She has a Mandarin school. It's called Panda Mandarin, and then also she has created a subset of her business, which is Girl Strong, empowering girls. And similar to like Blake and Dave's thing, where, you know, majority girls, but boys were welcome to participate, and they would study kind of like values and, you know, habits for kids that are building their mental capacity and emotional capacity, which I love. And then she invited Erin to do a book reading. And I thought, wow, what a great opportunity. So, you know, Erin popped on and did a book reading for one of the books. So it's great exposure for our mission. And at the same time, we're collaborating, right?
Yeah.
So I get to share about her thing, and she gets to share about our thing. And that's what I see in terms of how entrepreneurs are even taking collaboration and teamwork to the next level. You know,
yeah. So will Aaron be doing any more book readings or Facebook Lives or any?
Well, he will be. I just haven't. He is an accountant. He is busy, you know, with his work. So the intention, what I see coming, is that wherever I see fit and wherever we can fit him in, is, you know, instead of being in traffic going to work and back, now we have the extra time to pop into a community to share some of this knowledge from an author, right? So that is a lot of fun.
And if somebody wanted to take advantage of hearing Aaron when he popped on, is there a Facebook group that you have?
Yeah, we have Oliver Octopus Books is our Facebook page, and I do share on that.
Okay, good.
Yes.
All right. So you've talked a lot to a lot of us, to us a lot about managing your children during this time. Talk to us a little bit about what it's been like being an entrepreneur who's a mom at this time.
Yeah.
What have you taken on that you've shifted as a mompreneur?
What have I been shifted? So for me, like, I'm very grateful that I have already been online. So when I do coaching calls, they're online already, they're over the phone or online. And one thing I personally do in my own community is I host regular monthly live in-person events, right? And like many others, like, we've shifted to an online event instead. And what I appreciate is it's actually like easier to put together. I don't have to like lug my, you know, stuff to an event. I don't have to book a space. I don't have to like buy food, and I don't have to do any of that stuff. So that's shifted in terms of, hey, I brought it to online. You know, I call one of my events Sip and Share. And again, so powerful to have community in your life anytime, especially during challenging times.
Yes.
I
was on
the right type of community. Yeah, you don't want to be like, you know, bitching and moaning. Oh, did I say that? With, you know, you don't want to drag each other down, right? But instead, it's like, how can we lift each other up? And again, that goes back to like, what are we focusing on as a community?
Yeah, I was on your last Sip and Share, and it was really great. I wasn't sure what to expect because I had never been able to be in the in-person events before, just because of logistics and circumstances. But
exactly, right?
The online thing was great. I got to meet a whole slew of new people, create relationships, and the thing that was missing for me was some of that female camaraderie and interaction, and that I don't know what else to call it, because I've been so immersed in doing my business and having my business not bounce back from this and putting things into place and all that stuff, that the for relationships, if you want to call it that, kind of fell to the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. I had my own cup of tea. I had my, some people had wine, and you led us through phenomenal exercises,
Yeah.
which were great. And I don't remember how many people you had on the call, but I think it would be great if we put a link or a way that people can find out more information about joining that community.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm happy to do that.
Awesome. All right. So any words of wisdom that you can share with us from your coaching perspective on,
Yeah.
Just peace and love, bringing it out to the people around you or your families, regardless of whether we have coronavirus or not?
Yeah. So words of wisdom, the last time I had a call with one of my clients, the one thing that I basically completed our call with is I share with her this prayer that I really like. It's called, Mimi, I don't know if you know about it. It's called a Ho'oponopono. It's kind of like an affirmation. It's kind of like, it's a prayer. I don't know exactly what you can call it, but I call it a prayer, a simple prayer.
Yeah.
You can look it up. It's called Ho'oponopono. And basically it's 4 lines, right? And the 4 lines are, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and I thank you. And there's a whole story and a book around this prayer, but what I've adapted with this prayer is really bringing that 4 lines into self-love and self-care. Like, forgive, I need to do it on a regular basis, right? Like sometimes things aren't going the way I want to, especially in this little bit crazy time in the world, right? Like, you expect certain things and things aren't working. And, personally, I have way smaller problems than the bigger problems in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
And we get to like forgive ourselves every day, like certain, I'm sure many of you have, I do have self-judgment, all these things I want to do, but instead I ended up like needing to break up fights at home, right? It's like, I have this like big long list. It's like, okay, I'm going to attack this list, but it's like, okay, you know what? I had cuddle time instead with my kids because they're at home, and I get to like forgive myself, and I get to like focus on gratitude, right? The love and the thank you. What am I really grateful for? Every day is a new day, and life is short. That's like a huge message, like, wake up call.
Yes.
And if you're awake and you have a home and you have clean water, I'm like very grateful for that. So I'm going to leave you with that. Focus on making sure that you're taken care of, like physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally.
Yes.
And then you can go and do your thing in the entrepreneurship space, do your thing as being that parent, and also don't forget about your loved ones, right? Your parents, your grandparents, your spouse, right? Like, we get to rise together and we get to support each other.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. I feel I'm not a parent, but I feel more grounded as a parent, as an entrepreneur, and as a person who now has some actions around peace and love. And we'll post that little prayer with this video so that people can take it out with them along with those other couple of links.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much, Bonnie, for being with us today and sharing your heart and your love.
Thank you so much.
We'll speak to you soon.